You know when we're open?
We are good to go.
All right. All right, then we'll call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody to the July 17th planning board meeting in Bellingham, Massachusetts. We're going to take the first item. We're going to go a little out of order here. We'll do the 123 Menden Street project first. Rob, do we have
Yeah, so update with 123 Menden Street. If you recall, we were hoping to have that closed out tonight, pending a clear peer review letter. We did get a peer review letter back, not clear. There's a couple items that need to be addressed on it. So land planning, the engineer is working on that. They have requested a continuance to August 14th. That shouldn't be an issue. We have the decision deadline for August 31st. We're at the 1 yard line, so I don't recommend any extension. Decision deadline should be all set. Actually, I already started drafting the decision. You guys have the draft of it, but they need to just address a couple comments that they're ignored. Considers outline.
we need to open that first or just ask for a motion to continue?
You can just ask for a motion to continue
So
to August 14th.
So August 14th. And we have a second? Second, Liz. Moved by Bill. And start the vote, Liz.
Liz, aye.
Bill, aye. Bill, aye.
Steve, aye.
Marty?
Marty, aye.
Marty. So that motion will pass. 5-0. The next item on the agenda is Prospect Hill Village. Motion to open the meeting. Second. Motion made by Bill, seconded by Steve. And have the vote.
Liz, aye.
Bill, aye. Bill, aye. Steve, aye. Marty?
Marty, aye.
We're open.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, congratulations on your new post. Are we still missing a member?
No, he's on Zoom. What I can do is,
What about, we have 5 members, we have 4?
no, you have 5
more.
is on Zoom. We do not have an associate member.
Okay,
So what I can do, Lou, while you're presenting this, I can pull up the plans on Zoom
okay.
too.
Okay. Good, did most of the members know that we're reopening the hearing because we have a new member of the planning board and we want to have all 5 members be eligible to participate in the decision making on this project. So I'm just going to give a 10-minute summary where we on the for the benefit of the member and just answer any questions that he may have. And we really don't have any new information to add to the whole process that they didn't include from us. But for the benefit of, is it Mr. Roach?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Roach, nice to meet you. So essentially, this project started out about 1.5 years ago, maybe even longer. It started out as a 156 unit townhouse condominium project with access from Prospect Street as the primary access and second very access off of Prospect Street on the northerly side of the property. And we proposed an emergency access out to Lakeview Avenue, which was just strictly for emergency purposes, not for through traffic. Over the course of the last several months, the project has evolved, and we revised the plans to, with regard to other comments that have been made by everybody. And we eventually reduced the density down to down to 129 units, which I'm just showing you as each overview plan of what the traffic analysis was providing circulation of all emergency vehicles. Project is 100% privately maintained. Our estimate was when we did our fiscal analysis that it would contribute almost $1 million to the town. without having to engage in any services by the town, and that there were minimal impact to the school system. I forget the number of children, but it was relatively small in that respect. So the project calls for it to be serviced by municipal water and municipal sewer. We have ownership of what was previously the Attleboro Woonsocket Railway. That was never built years ago. Who have ownership of that right of way, and will be installing a force main to Blackmar Street, and then from Blackmar Street there will be a gravity sewer down Cross Street to the New Green pumping station. Town water is available through an easement that's in the westerly corner of the property. And we'll be circulating water throughout the development and ultimately looping the water out to Lake Street down to Cross Street, where the existing water main is located, where it loops out into the rest of that section of town. We have done a fire flow analysis. There's adequate water pressure. We've done the traffic analysis. We've rerouted the traffic so that instead of having two access ways on Prospect Street, we now have one secondary access off Lake Street. And just available for any questions if Mr. Roach has any of this out.
Board members, any questions?
No, we're rather familiar with it.
Marty, do you have any outstanding questions you'd like to ask right now? Okay.
The only question I would have, and I've been known about the project almost the entire 18 months as I've been either watching or been in attendance to planning board meetings, is the access off of Prospect Street. Has that been fully granted by the town of Franklin at this point?
Well, that's a legal matter. I don't care to discuss it at this point, but we feel fairly certain that we have access off of Prospect Street. We have previously approved subdivision plan with access onto Prospect Street. So in our minds, we do have access.
So that's a no, you don't have access by the town of Franklin currently, as the plans that are up on the board right now. You don't have it, that access, yes or no?
Excuse me, there is no permit required for me to have access up to Prospect Street. We have, what we have is a approved subdivision plan that gives us access onto Prospect Street. That subdivision plan was endorsed by the Franklin Planning Board. There's a private way covenant on record. So all those issues relative to the access on the Prospect Street itself, we're not aware, or we haven't been advised of any permit that's required of us to file with the town of Franklin.
Okay. Rob, where would you like to go right now? I understand you don't have anything else to offer.
I think we've worked over the only thing I will say is that we're in the final stages with the Conservation Commission. Our next meeting with the Conservation Commission is July 23rd. There were just one or two issues that they wanted to have peer reviewed at the last meeting, so we're waiting that review to be completed. It was supposed to be here yesterday in time for our meeting on the 23rd. But other than that, there's really little that we need to do. We did get a peer review recently from EST regarding stormwater and the other aspects of it. Those issues seem to be all addressed.
Okay.
Want me to give a little update on?
Yeah, there's a few things that would probably go after that, but why don't we turn this over to Rob then?
Sure.
So in your packet, I know I tried to consolidate as much as I could information that has gone over. I mean, this has been a long, long process. And there's been numerous revisions, numerous correspondence, a lot of information with this submission. So what I attempted to do was just for the board to kind of understand some of the, I don't want to refer to them as all outline issues, but more of discussion points is where I feel very confident that we're nearing the end of this process. So the first thing is to note, the planning board had received recently, not recently, previously, 2 waiver requests. One is for section 240-17B1F, that is regarding locating trees, historic features, and natural land features as part of the application. The other waiver request is 245-13B2G, which is part of the subdivision rules and regs related to drainage structures, and in particular fencing and maintenance access to the drainage structure, most of the bases. So those 2 items, you already have the waiver request, but just so I could consolidate it so the board is aware of them. I included those in this punch list. We also received, actually, I think it was Monday or Tuesday of this week, a 3rd waiver request. I didn't even include it in your packets. It does not meet the deadline to be discussed in the meeting, but just so you are aware, you will be receiving that. It is regarding the buffer requirement for the townhouse, the landscape buffer, which I'll get into that next, in a little bit. But just some other discussion points. I'm not gonna get into too much detail with the access to the site through Franklin. Marty just mentioned that a little while ago. I think we might be a little bit different, understanding of what was submitted to the board from Franklin, but either way, you know, if this were to be approved, I know I mentioned a condition of approval previously, something to keep in mind as we move forward, if this project were to be approved. The other item, regarding the Dupree Road sewer pump station connection, there is, a difference of opinions regarding the connection from our DPW director and Lou. So that's an item that I think should be noted as we move forward. Lou did submit his compliance with the Water Resource District statement. So this is in a zone 2. Our zoning bylaws have a prohibited use to the 4-foot separation of seasonal high groundwater. Lou did submit a compliance statement stating how he feels he's in compliance with the bylaw.
Were there test pits done
There were test pits done, so we're aware of
in various scenarios?
Yep, we're aware of where the estimated seasonal high groundwater is. And there's a few basins that, I think there's 3 in total that don't meet the 4-foot separation of groundwater. So Lou's, if you read, I recommend, if you haven't read it, read it. And essentially, I think where the rub is right now between my interpretation and Lou's, prohibited uses include excavation within 4 feet of estimated seasonal high groundwater, and utilities and roads are not included as a prohibited exception. We've always looked at stormwater basins as included as the intent of this is to make sure that any infiltration going into the aquifer has enough buffer for treatment. That's the intent of this. You know, so there's validity to Lou's statement, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with that statement. But, you know, it's up to the board, you know, if you have my opinion. So just to keep in mind. One of the other items is the Lake Street runoff and ponding. So recently Lou did include, it was a spill off essentially from Lake Street to allow in that low point, water to run off the street to go into, right now it's a 4-bay and then into a vegetated swale to convey water to wetlands further behind the site.
In this general area.
Yeah, I can pull it up if needed. But essentially, we did get the peer review back from BSC, and BSC recommended that instead of having that spill off discharge into the 4-bay, because that's an on-site treatment unit to allow for TSS treatment, to try and bypass it to make sure that it goes down in the swale. Correct. So that's just something that BSC mentioned. The other item too is, so that's the northern side of the site. So I guess that's the southern side of the proposed road. The northern side, I know we discussed briefly, not briefly, we discussed quite a bit during the meetings. There is is that the perennial stream or is that intermittent at that point?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is good.
okay, so perennial stream over there, there's water that does impound in that area. Lou has responded to it. So necessarily has addressed it, but has responded, so that's up to the board to also note. And then lastly, actually second to last, the buffer requirement for townhouses. Our use regulation schedule requires a 100-foot buffer for a townhouse to other residentially zoned parcels. So this does not meet that. However, Lou is allowed to request a waiver. That is the third waiver that came in earlier this week that I would highly recommend not really discussing tonight. Well, I haven't seen it, so, but something to note there. There is an updated landscape plan that was submitted, what would you say, 3 weeks ago, probably? Yeah, it's in the Dropbox, but basically there was part of that waiver request, there was increased number of plantings along that property line to separate the proposed, I think it's units 1 through 12 from the recently constructed houses on Prospect Street. There is, if you look at this, there's a berm with some additional plantings that were included. So take a look at that. I'd recommend when you look at that waiver request. The other item as well, just to note, we did talk about the potential mitigation to Lake Street and Prospect Street intersection. As we noted, a good portion of that is really not jurisdictional to the board. A lot of it's in Franklin, and there's also some private property that looks like it can be addressed as well. So something else to note. But those are kind of the items that I had listed. What I would recommend for the board is take a look at the development plan approval criteria and the special permit criteria for this townhouse development. And I think we're at the point now where we're nearing the end of the public hearing process. What I would recommend is discuss the waiver request perhaps at scheduled meeting. So I know there's a lot of information that Marty can digest. You can actually have that waiver request that you can review. At that August 14th meeting, if you would, obviously you'll have to request a continuance to the August 14th meeting unless you want to close tonight. I would recommend a waiver outline, but I would say we can get a decision going. I can draft a template for discussion for August 14th. I can do one. I know in the past, I've done, well, Jim and myself have done 2, approval and denial to discuss. whatever the board wants, I can hold off on it, but I would recommend, right now, the decision deadline is August 31st, which I don't think that we would need an extension. I feel like we can get this wrapped up for August 14th. I think, I don't want to speak on behalf of people in this room, but I have a feeling the board applicant and neighbors would like to see this end at some point instead of coming
Well,
here.
I did hear the applicant say he had nothing really. Yeah,
Right, well, I'm just hearing about the 3 or 4 points that Rob has made up. We do have stuff obviously disagreement with his opinion, so.
but I think we've vetted,
Yeah,
we've
well,
talked through those.
Right,
already,
exactly.
right?
We're pretty much, we don't really have anything else to submit unless somebody asks us to check into something different between now and August.
You mentioned $1 million, $1 million benefit to the town, and I didn't see in the data with these that we had that, I don't think we ever discussed that in an open meeting.
Yeah, we did. I brought it,
Is that strictly based upon the tax that these locations are generating? Is it?
we had a financial impact statement prepared by I don't know what you're referring to.
It's there.
We did submit it and we brought a chart and other things,
Okay.
demonstrate where the revenues are coming from in the school children and so on and so forth. Sure, we had that conversation.
If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Chair, I think that was included, Lou, you submitted a supplemental special permit status in November, I think. Of
Obviously,
of November of 2024, so,
it was one of the first things that. the board
Yeah,
requested.
I think it's in
We're
that.
there. Okay. But I don't think the discussion on the housing choice has come up. We've done a lot of townhouses since you've secured your rights for the bylaw. Done a lot of townhouses actually on the other end of town, so I can note that. Okay, so at this point, the conservation board has something on its third-ish, but it doesn't affect what we're doing.
Yeah, no, I don't think so, but,
Okay.
I know the board wants to have, concurrent type of closure. So I have no problem extending or continuing with 14, so that, both boards can be on the same track.
Okay, does any of the board members have any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have, don't want to get into the weeds on the second waiver request. But being a risk manager, I have some concerns with that. Number 7, the buffer zone. I know we're talking about different buffer zones around. Does this impact the density at all? There's no disagreement?
Are you talking about the 100-foot buffer?
Yes.
So, no, well, I suppose what our use table has under townhouses, there's a footnote that says refer to, I think, section 240-95. And that is associated with a 100-foot buffer to residentially zoned parcels or residentially used parcels. So that answer your question?
Yeah. Okay.
I just add that the zoning bylaw related to Bellingham.
Correct.
We feel that regulation doesn't apply with land in Franklin.
If that were true, which I disagree with, there is Bellingham land in those residential parcels.
Maybe there is.
There is, according to your plans. That's, but anyway.
All right, so does any of the board members have any other things they'd like to bring up? Okay, would you like to ask for?
I actually have one other question. I'm very, very concerned with the Dupree Road sewer pump station and the fact that there is a disagreement between the DPW and Lou of how we are going to resolve the impact of this station and adding 120 units, and how are we going to resolve this pumping station to be able to handle this. That's a big issue. And I've read through the emails and everyone, I'm here, Lou's here, the town, and Jesse, and there's no common ground yet. And that concerns me.
Just so you say, Mr. Roach, not that we're at different ends. You have a problem there with the town-owned facility that we've offered to help repair. We've offered that. We've received no information from the DPW relative to what necessary repairs would be needed to satisfy some of the malfunctions that are going on there today. We're not gonna rebuild a pumping station that Bellingham has ownership of, but we are willing to help assist in that effort to bring the sewer pump station up to some level of service that is better than what it is today. So I wouldn't say we're on opposite ends. We just agree either way. We're offering to help. We have the resources to help, but we're not going to rebuild a complete pumping station that the town needs to rebuild anyways.
Ooh, if I may ask, if DPW tells you that rebuilding it is the only way to handle this type of density, are you willing to do that?
Well, their consultant hasn't indicated that. We have this peer reviewed by Feinfeld or the DPW. You have to read their report to know what I'm speaking of. There's plenty of bad. Nobody's mentioned anything about rebuilding. There are issues malfunctioning that happen with that pump station. We're willing to assist in addressing that, but we're not going to rebuild the whole pump.
Well, the only reason I ask is because you said you'd be willing to bring it to some level, but some level doesn't mean it's the level that it needs to be for the density. So
Well, it's operating today,
less than
every day.
129, units.
right? Well, I think Feinfeld has already concluded that there is sufficient capacity in the pump station for us to operate. They're concerned about certain issues with the, what do they call it? Either the generator or some power structure or something that's not functioning. And we've been given a list of repairs that have been done over the last several years. I think in total around $115,000 of things that have been replaced or renewed or that kind of thing. But and that's really how it's been happening. So whether or not the town is operating under that type of patchwork scenario, doing that, I don't know, how long has that pump station been there? 10, 15 years?
No, that was installed, I believe, as part of the late eights, development behind,
Bus barn?
behind the bus barn, behind the acres. I believe that was constructed around 2017, 2018, ended up getting taken over by the town, I believe, in 2020 or 2021. I have that right. I know prior to it being taken over, that was a Fafford development. Prior to it being taken over, there were substantial repairs that were made because there was issues with it. So Bellingham took it over, doing operating, it would be fine, and it's been nothing but a problem according to DPW since. And because of that specific pump station, and I think another one in town, I can't really speak too much on the pumps. I'm not an expert, but I know that there are different specs that the town has adopted due to the issues they're having with this pump station. So it's not so much a capacity situation, it's more of the continuous O and M and performance of the station. You know, if it's at 50% capacity and it can still handle 120 houses, great, but that, it's not really the capacity that's the problem. Performing poorly, it's been a money pit for the DPW, and that's why they would like that station to be to their new specs. But, you know, Lou made a point, so,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, does anybody from the audience have any new comments to make on this project? I know we've heard, recognize many of you talked in the past and brought up issues that we all remember. Is there anybody that would like to add anything tonight? Sir, you could, give your name and, your address.
Sure. Tim Twardowski, 62 Oxford Drive in Franklin. The question that came up tonight, and I know you had agreed that you didn't want to talk about the waiver request relating to the 100-foot buffer area, but there was a question that was raised several meetings ago about the density calculation. And the question specifically pertained to provision in the bylaw that excludes from the density calculation any land that's subject to the Wetland Protection Act. The applicant submitted a document that showed, I think, about 570,000 square feet of wetlands, plus an additional almost 300,000 square feet of riverfront area. And when the density was reduced to 129 or 128 units, that did not reduce any units for the almost 300,000 square feet of riverfront area, which is subject to the Waterfront Protection Act. So, as I see it, this project, even as with a reduced density, is still 30 bedrooms or 15 units over the maximum density. And based on the memo that Rob posted to the project file, the 100-foot buffer area would impact, I think, 12 units. So if you take off the 15 units that shouldn't be there in the first place, then that solves the problem. So from my standpoint, there's no way that waiver should ever be granted.
Anybody else? All right, are you asking for a continuance?
Yes, we'll continue to August 14th. Our wishes too.
Mr. Chair. I'd like to pick up what Rob said. I think we should ask Rob to draft 2 decisions for our meeting in August. An approval and a denial based on the information that's been outlined tonight. So we have it in front of us. We want to take action on it. This process is going on for a long time. People have been coming to a lot of meetings. I think the end is the sight. I think we should. Most of our, there's some disagreements that we may not be able to.
Liz, what's your thoughts?
Well, if we're discussing the waivers next meeting, do you think all of that gets resolved?
Well, we both look at the fact that they're in front of conservation and something may happen, but I would be prepared either way.
Okay.
What's your feeling, Steve?
Yeah, I agree with Bill, given what's outstanding and what hasn't been discussed. I agree that we should have both.
Marty, any comment?
I really want the new latest waiver request. I do want to read that and get into that a little bit more detailed to understand it a little bit more. But also in agreement with what Bill said, we draft 2 decisions based upon all data that we have in front of us as a board, and we'll proceed accordingly.
Great, then I would entertain a motion
Mhm.
to
Continue to August 14th.
to August 14th, where you'll have 2
Yes.
outlines, decisions, plus the waivers ready to go through. Is that the motion?
Correct, Mr.
Do
Chairman.
we have a second? Second by Liz. All right, then why don't we, take a vote on that motion, Liz?
Liz, I.
Bill, on.
Bill, aye? Marty?
Marty, I.
All right, then, we'll see you.
One question on the waivers, I mean, we can go ahead and vote the waivers before.
It'll be part of it. So we'll see, we'll move forward.
We can discuss them and then, you know, if you want to address based on what that decision is, we can this
I guess. I've never done that. Usually you vote the waivers up or down, and then we have an opportunity to revise and move the minutes. You're not going to make the waiver up with the minutes and another location on the site, so you really not helping the process by holding it.
Well, I think the intent, Lou, is to make sure that the three waivers are discussed at the same time, so you have that. If it so happens that the waivers are not granted, that everybody can. So.
All right, so the next, we're gonna open up the next two together, so I would entertain a motion to open up the continuing public hearings for 190, 194, 198 Hartford Avenue. In addition to that, also open the continuing public hearing of 182 and 186 Hartford Avenue. Second by Liz. Motion made by Bill, seconded by Liz. And we'll start with the vote with Stephen. Bill, aye.
Bill, on.
Liz, I.
Marty?
Marty, I.
And aye. So, good evening. So, Rob, could you tee us off where we're gonna go tonight on this?
Yeah, just to be clear, you open up both.
We just opened up both,
Okay.
so we can discuss both, and we know there's more on one than the other.
Yeah,
To kind of interact.
yeah, so this is a similar situation where it was re-notified, re-advertised, you know, the voting member board, so this will be another opportunity for the applicant to just get more up to speed. Luckily, we've only had one public hearing for this, so not a whole lot to get up to speed. There has been some developments, which I guess, you know, I'm taking, bring those up. Yeah.
Okay. The floor is yours. Could you bring us up to speed with anything for Marty, and then also anything that might be.
Absolutely. For the record, John Joseph Fuller. Nice to see you all again. I think quite a few months back before we were here, so it's been a little bit of time. We do have the whole project team with us. If you have any questions, we have submitted. So for the last meeting, I mentioned both projects at a high level, called the retail site. Retail site is actually coming out of that meeting. We made a resubmittal, taking comments that we've heard, and some supplemental information, provided that to you, to go to your peer review engineers for review, and that is underway now. And we have not, they received them recently, so they're in their review. Once we get those comments, we'll obviously address those and do what needs to be done to make sure we get clean letters in that regard. So relative to the retail building, when we were here last, in the full presentation, there was questions asked. Wasn't a lot of changes requested necessarily, but there was the one question in particular that stood out. I wanted to make sure that the roadway widening in the future, should it happen, when it happens, who knows when, is such that what we're proposing now leaves enough room to construct the roadway. So we made changes to the plan to ensure that there was enough room provided, given an exhibit that shows that. But the layout of the building allows for that future roadway widening and an 8-foot sheer path wide. That's what you see up on screen now. So essentially, I call it the hatched red line, that's the sidewalk, 20-foot sidewalk, was part of the project, and the curb was further south. So what we did to accommodate that change is we actually had the driveway come into the site a little bit more. You'll notice there's where the parking spaces were removed along that spine. We just did that to make it easier turning movement in based on that, it might be a little bit wider. That was one change that we made based on that. Additionally, some operational changes that we made, the trash enclosure you can see on the back left corner of the building. That previously was tucked all the way in, almost on the back right corner. Over here. Yeah, it was roughly around there. We've since slid that all the way to the left, which provides a much larger green space in that area. Less pavement and like that, there's probably easier access to the enclosure. Modified that. Those are the things that you all probably notice on the plan. Beyond that, we did some additional stormwater test pitting. We have that data, and then we've modified the stormwater design to incorporate that new data that was provided. And that's what the peer review will advise you on, whether the review was proposed. And we've also submitted a full traffic study as part of it. We talked about it briefly at the last time we were here. However, we did not go into it, the presentation on. So those are the changes to the plan. Any questions on that or anything you want me to get into more detail before we have Jason on it? Okay.
Circulation, remember, anything came up the last time?
So from a circulation standpoint, the driveway on Hartford Ave, that actually doesn't really show up very well there. But the driveway, it's you enter and exit on that driveway. And then on Cedar Hill Road, that's a one-way road heading from the neighborhood down to Hartford Ave. So that comes down, and then it's actually two directions there. You just can't turn up the street. The turning movement that we was strictly into the driveway on Hartford Ave. I think that's what we're referring to. So we have a right in.
So that, just to clarify, Cedar Hill is a one-way at that point. Right. And it's going north or south? South. Towards the interstate.
Yes, you can't, and coming from the neighborhood.
So, folks turning left into this on the opposite side of Hartford Ave, is it just expected that they're gonna wait for traffic to because that's my biggest concern out of this whole thing is that traffic.
Yeah, and Jason's got those numbers, and he kind of talked about kind of what the count showed and so. That's what he had. Now we can go back to site plan. I can have Jason present on the traffic.
This was an overview for Marty. How deep do you want to go?
I mean, what I would recommend, so John pretty much gave the overview for this side. There are some updates. I think it's appropriate to mention them. Marty, you're okay with the limited scope with this site, right?
Yes, the only thing, and I was in the last public meeting and I was as a townsperson, not as a board member. My concern was the Mass DOT and what are their proposed changes on Hartford Ave for that entrance. Because if you're coming eastbound on Hartford Ave, and if the median strip that the state had proposed at one point, and I don't know the final plans of what they're proposing, that would obstruct left turns off of Hartford Ave into the complex. And that was my biggest concern. And then my other one that I did made mention of is just a restriction on when trash could be picked up, not to impact the residents.
Marty, just to clarify, you're talking about the left-hand turn on Hartford Avenue going eastbound.
Correct. Because of the Mass DOT corrections that they're proposing to make on 126 and a left-hand turn.
Any other board comments first?
Before, we dig into traffic, just quick, before we transition from site to traffic. just two
Okay.
Things to note. So for this site, the applicant alluded to it and is correct, the civil and stormwater peer review was just funded, so that's going. Started this one, so it's gonna take a little time for that to be completed, but we will have a peer review letter in the near future for that. We did receive the traffic report for this as well, that just came in with this new submission. I did reach out to our traffic peer review consultant, and they actually just gave me a proposal today. So I'll be sending that over to you folks. But that has not started yet. But now is a good time to start discussing traffic since we have.
Okay, we could step back just a second. Have you had a chance to meet with Chief, talk about the site?
We have not.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay, then, Chief, would you like to
If I
mention
could-
those now, or would you like to meet separately?
Rob, what's easier for you?
Please, if you know, if you'd like to comment,
I do,
please
I'd
do.
like just a couple quick things. So,
Please do.
through you, Mr. Chair, really quick, two things. The planters that are in the parking lot, are those raised or are those hash marked out, number one? So the islands?
Yeah, the islands in the parking lot currently are shown raised.
Okay, so two, I need a sweat path analysis on all radiuses, and it's based off of our ladder truck. Because I can, looking at that right now, I can tell you coming in from the North Main Street, taking a left into that property, our ladder truck will not make the swing through. I can just tell by just looking at it, the radius is too tight because of that raised island. So we need to get together, we need to work on that. The other piece is these be a hydrant within 100 feet of your sprinkler connection. So there's some other things behind the scenes that we need to work on. All right, but those are the big ones right out of the gate is access in and maneuverability around that parking lot with our ladder. But path analysis. And again, the hydrant location for the FTC. That's the original one. And again, the exit point as well too onto Cedar Hill. I know it's a little wide, but what's the mouth of that exit? Again, I got a 42-foot truck that I'm trying to make a swing out with, potentially. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, and we're gonna go next to the topic.
Well, with the traffic consultants here, it might be good to just give an update
Wait.
to the
Sounds good.
Sure.
board and.
Yeah,
Please.
for the record, Jason Adams with Foman. As has been discussed, we completed a traffic impact study, which has been submitted here. Focusing on the signalized intersection of Cedar Hill and Hartford, as well as the project access points. So we collected turn and movement count data. We projected that data into the future. We completed a tree generation analysis of the project site and then distributed the vehicle trips in order to analyze the potential impacts of the project. Overall, it's a pretty low generator, and the vehicle trips, once they're distributed out to both Cedar Hill and Hartford, don't show to have much of a significant impact on the intersection and roadway operations. It's a kind of the high level summary. I'm happy to go into more detail. I know it's going to be peer reviewed and there's a lot of numbers involved, but whatever the board pleases in terms of detail, I can provide.
Any questions from the board?
I have one question, and maybe it's for the board or maybe for the traffic consultant, but coming out onto Hartford Ave, would we restrict a left turn here? Or vice versa, like, because you have to cross so many lanes of traffic?
On the right, you can't go right on.
Right, yeah,
That was my
you
question.
understand that.
No, I understand your.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I guess that's something for the board to consider maybe.
yeah. So I guess I will add, applicant gladly can respond to that, but if you have an answer, but you will note that in the traffic peer review proposal, at the previous hearing, there was a lot of concern about first of all, the intersection, the one-way with Cedar Hill Road, and the fact that Hartford Ave is such a difficult route. Drive through and turning, not ideal. So as part of the traffic peer review, proposal that I can send to you, we'll go to the applicant on it, but traffic calming measures with recommendations to work with, traffic consultants for the applicant is gonna be pretty critical for this, especially for Cedar Hill Road being one way. But I know from my perspective, when I look at Hartford Ave, I'm not entirely sure what the final improvements were decided upon with DOT, but I envision that it would be quite difficult to take a left turn into that site, on Hartford Ave, so it would probably make sense to limit the curb cuts, and it might need a raised island, but we can get it more into the weeds on that once, we get the peer review
Yeah, I just think
finalized.
if you're coming out of the site
Yeah.
and like, heading east or going to 495.
Basically right in, right out only.
Yeah, I don't know how you cross all that.
Did you look into that?
We did look into it. It is proposed as full access. I mean, I'll note on the exiting movement, there is access on the Cedar Hill, which provides access to the signal. We wouldn't expect a lot of left turns to take place coming from the site onto Hartford Avenue, especially during the peak periods. It does provide additional opportunities, especially during off-peak times. I mean, I think during the peak times, people are much more likely to turn on Cedar Hill, come down to the signal to take a left, to leave the site if they're heading east towards 495. But sites like this, for the end user and for the property as a whole, when there's additional access that can be maximized during off-peak time, it does make that more convenient because fewer vehicles into the signal. In terms of the entering movement, because Cedar Hill is one way, movements
Yeah,
coming
I
from the
meant more
signal.
coming out of.
Correct, right.
Yeah, out of the site.
Anytime, you've got to cross traffic in that area, it's a problem, and as bad as that area is, I understand that the traffic impact may not be significant, but anything that can pile on something that's already bad makes it worse. So that's my.
So, Mr. Chair, as we go through this process, I think we're gonna have to discuss, limiting access and egress, from Hartford Avenue eastbound into this. And when you come out onto Hartford Avenue, it should be left turn only, not right turn, so you're not going back and forth. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we talked about this road being one way, but for 30 feet, it's two way, correct?
For Cedar Hill?
Cedar Hill.
No,
It's okay.
it's all one way.
All right, so that we're not gonna have people turning in on Cedar Hill. Okay, that's good.
I think, actually, I agree with you as far as the traffic. The need to actually direct the traffic with some barriers and things like that. I think we talked about that last time, and the turn, controlling the turns into this. Somebody going on the other side of Hartford Avenue, going east, trying to turn into this, even off peak hours, I think would be a challenge that would cause an issue. In your traffic analysis, did you go through and look at the number of accidents in this area?
We did, yes. Yeah, it's, the crash rate is a little bit higher than the statewide average. It has been on some of the statewide, top 5% crash locations. There has been a road safety audit completed that is essentially the direction towards the Mass DOT improvement project. So when we look at an intersection like this, it already has a programmed improvement. We don't know when it's going to come in. But essentially Mass DOT, it's indicating Mass DOT is aware of it. They've advanced it to a certain level. At that point, it becomes a funding issue in terms of when it gets constructed, but certainly that has been cataloged in our report and identified by Mass DOT as well.
Yeah, I think we talked the last time you guys were out that we were going to consider this project without the Mass DOT correct, as a possibility as well.
Right.
So I think when we get into the weeds with our traffic consultant, I'm gonna be looking as one individual board member to say, what can we do? And I asked this the last time, what can we do to control the traffic turning in and out across the lanes? And actually, both entrances, exits on the side. So that's gonna be, I'm gonna be looking for answers on that. And maybe looking on your side, the other side, to come up with a couple options.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I have a quick question.
Go right
To echo, and I apologize, I did miss the first meeting. Why is there two-way coming out on the Hartford Ave? Why is it just not one way in and one way out? From a public safety standpoint, we go up that section of the road weekly for motor vehicle accidents. In the last month, we have been there sometimes 2 times a day. It's crazy up there on Hartford Ave. So I'm asking from a public safety standpoint, why is it just not entrance in off of Hartford Ave and a nice wide mouth with a left turn onto Cedar Hill to the traffic light so we can control the traffic coming out? That's my question.
Yeah, and certainly we understand that there are future conversations to come. Generally, a project like this, the access coming off of the commercial roadway is how we try to provide access rather than having all exit movements entirely coming off Cedar Hill. Also, given just the directional conversation that's already been happening, if there was only enter allowed up Hartford Avenue, you'd only be able to enter. I think what I'm hearing is potentially from the east. Right, so all of the vehicles coming from the west on Hartford Avenue, coming from the south on North Main Street, would have to figure out how to turn around, which is a problem unto itself of providing direct access versus indirect access.
I think you get that problem now, looking at it.
Sure.
I would drive down there at a different time of day.
Right.
You'll see it any time of day.
Right.
So I guess what this one board member would like to see is the next time traffic comes up, I would like to see your proposals to do that situation we talked about the last time with public safety. Several board members already tonight. And I think, peer reviews, obviously, then they would be well.
Any additional comments, right? Chief, I'm sure you've seen this, I think we all have. A lot of people, in a rush to get home and to go down North Main Street are taking a left into Dunkin' Donuts, although the sign says do not enter. And try to miss the light. Dunkin' Donuts around 4 o'clock to 7. It's not that busy. So they're trying to jump the light. So I think you may want to consider that in your calculation. I know it's not going towards your property, but that's one concern I have. Do you see that happening?
Not so much on Dunkin' Donuts side. I see it more people cutting the light, heading westbound to go down North Main Street. And I also see them going to the mobile station more to get down. So where traffic coming from the west, coming from, the Mendon Hopedale side, coming up to the mobile station, that obviously, backs up severely in the morning. People do not want to wait. And again, I live on that side of town, so I see it on a regular basis. People cutting through the mobile station parking lot to jump the light to get onto North Main Street, to head south on North Main Street, up towards the center of town. I see more of it built through the mobile station,
Okay.
not necessarily through the Dunkin' Donuts.
When I was working, I saw it.
Yeah.
I actually see it. In fact, I was trying to get out the other day and someone was trying to go in.
Yep.
And I got the single finger wave, trying to get out and they were trying to get in. But
You thought you were number one, way?
exactly.
And I apologize for my ignorance here. Between the 2 lanes, eastbound and westbound, is that a double yellow stripe? Yeah.
First.
So that in essence acts as a barrier, correct?
Well, I mean, there are some access points along that side of the road,
Mhm.
so, yeah, I think that this is a bigger conversation as this project folds in with the existing roadway conditions and the Mass DOT
Yep.
improvement, which, you know, it is a challenge at what point to figure out how to layer in that Mass DOT project to the chair's point earlier. I know we heard this at the last hearing as well, so I think we're looking forward to talking with the town, the peer reviewer, public safety, and trying to figure out the best way overall for access to the site, for doing what we can to mitigate not only our project impact, but also the general safety of the area.
Yep.
In advance of the Mass DOT project, but also knowing that there is a Mass DOT project that is going to widen the roadway, that the site is accommodating of that should improve safety and operations of the intersection, as well as it provides, when it comes into place, greater pedestrian and bicycle connectivity in the area as well. So there's a couple different elements to this entire process, yeah.
My ignorance comes into play where I don't know the terminology. But in some areas between the two lanes, I see what appear to be like thin, tall, pink or orange, like traffic cones, about yay high.
Like bollards in the way.
Yeah, they're embedded in the road. And you know, if you hit it, your car doesn't get that damaged. You know what I'm talking about?
The plastic one.
Yes. That's something that we may want to look at.
For Hartford Ave,
Yes,
well, we're getting into DOT jurisdictional stuff.
and it would be too late for that, correct? With the planning?
Yeah, what I would recommend is, and when we get the traffic peer reviewer on board and there can be conversations with public safety as well, I think you're gonna wanna limit the potential ability for access and exiting on Hartford Ave through the curb cut design, not so much design on Hartford Ave.
Okay, that's fine.
But, you know, that, I'd say, once we get the traffic peer review consultant, I think we were all pretty much aware when this came in that traffic was gonna be the biggest discussion point. I think the application does fit the criteria for that, the overlay quite well, that we worked very tirelessly on, and you look at the building design and the site design, I think it meets that. It's really gonna be a hefty traffic discussion, even at the expense of interior landscape islands. Chief.
That's something between Rob and I.
Is circulation around the building an issue? Because usually there's buildings, you want to be all the way
Correct.
around.
So
Is that gonna be a-
we do like circulation around the buildings. Looking at this, is that green space, what we would call the seaside, so the back side of the building, so heading up Cedar Hill a little bit, is that green space right back there?
This one.
It is?
Yeah.
Yeah, right there, Rob, yeah, okay. So that's
Your
green
septic
space.
system.
We're gonna put something.
Yeah, I mean, we can hand walk in there if we have to, because we have access built off of Cedar Hill, so which for us, 3 good sides on this building is really good.
Okay.
And able to get access from Cedar Hill, we could, what we would call hand jack. You know, a hand line or something in there if we had to. So
Okay.
we do have good access on that backside, yes.
Thank you.
All right, Marty, any comment? No need to, but any comment you'd like to make?
Nothing else more than I've already spoken to.
Okay, at this point, is there any comments from the audience? If there is, raise your hand and we'll call in and give your name and your address and
Hi,
Your name?
Kim Leducer, I'm at 4 Sagamore Road. I have a question about couple questions. One is Cedar Hill. So it says bi-directional on Cedar Hill. Is that going to be bi-directional up until a certain point? And if not, then does that make the only entrance coming off of Hartford Ave? Because the problem that I see is that people who can't take a left turn to enter off of Hartford Ave, which I don't want them to do either, because I live up there and I know how bad it is. But that means that Rawson becomes the turnaround for everyone. And we have little kids in the neighborhood. It is a traffic light, but that will become the turnaround. So I would have kind of an issue with that. It's already a turnaround for people who, oops, meant to go to Home Depot, I'm gonna come in, turn around and shoot across. It's already become a turnaround for a whole bunch of other things up in that area, and I don't want to add to that. It's a neighborhood with small kids. It's, you know, it's kind of wide open. Kids, they play. That's just the way the neighborhood is. So that would be a concern for me. So I definitely ask the board to please look at the traffic around this and the potential for the neighborhoods that are going to be affected by it. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Hi, Paul Carroll, 8 Sagamore Road, her neighbor. The observations I see is the left-hand turns in and out of the building also exists for the 2 gas stations down the way. So that problem is already ongoing. And go on with what Tim says, but also getting out of our neighborhood, sometimes we have to wait multiple light cycles because people hang on the yellow, and that intersection commonly gets blocked.
All right,
No, don't.
okay.
Audra Rodenheiser, 316 Teresa Road. I'm glad that the fire chief is here, but the police chief, I'd like to know what his thoughts are on the traffic, because after the first meeting, the number of accidents right after it is atrocious. And again, kind of piggybacking on all these left going people coming one way trying to take a left turn into the gas stations. You're going to see the same thing coming out of these buildings, and DOT has to do a better job of timing the lights because they're not timed properly in the, when everybody drives terribly, running the red lights to get, make the light. And not just our town, but we have ambulances coming from other towns that have to access this road too. So that's just my concern.
Thank you. Actually, Rob, you have a comment?
I was just gonna say, you bring up an excellent point with public safety and the police. So just to note, we recently received the traffic study because that wasn't initially submitted. So now public safety actually has an opportunity to review it, and they will be part of the conversation. Okay. So, this is more of an overview and an update meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And there's a comment?
Yeah, Jen Burnham Russo, I live on Arrowhead. I'm very concerned since Cedar Hill is a one-way, if you block access, taking that left turn in there, I fear that people are gonna go up Arrowhead and then come around and come out on Cedar to go into this plaza, which could cause a problem. We already have a problem with people flying up Arrowhead anyways, and there are kids, not a lot, but there are little kids that are up there. So I'm concerned that Arrowhead's now gonna become kind of like a cutoff, like an access point for that.
Is there Arrowhead west or east of?
Arrowhead's to the west.
To the west.
Yes, the next street, I'm sorry, that's right over there. And I mean, because I know that when I come out of my house and I come around to exit onto Cedar Hill, because the light's there and it's easier to get on that road with the light. And I actually was in an accident on that road. I got hit with somebody coming out of the gas station trying to make a left turn on there. So I know how dangerous that road is too.
All right, where do we want to go from here?
We have, so this was 192, 190 or 190?
Yeah.
190.
182.
Yeah, I think in that one, the applicant gave an update, and also just read Marty, and I don't know, Marty, did you have anything to add? I heard something come from the Zoom.
Nope, I'm good. I made my comments originally, and I'm in agreement with public safety looking at a little bit more, especially once the fire chief, his concerns about the trucks and access. I think everyone's looking in the right direction.
So what I would recommend is probably just have the applicant do, just a quick overview of 182 and 186 for, just so Marty is aware of this as a voting member. give any updates that you have on this one. I'll share the screen right now.
And
So-
again, just to add, I was in the last public meeting, so I am aware of everything, but obviously now I'm a voting member, so it has to be said in a different light.
So on this one, just with the larger step back again, we gave a general presentation of the project, the site plans, building elevations. We did not have traffic at that point. Similar to the other side, we wanted to go out, do some additional stormwater testing, verify some things, so that has been done. We have not resubmitted these plans yet, so those will be yet resubmitted to this board and go through the peer review process. But at a high level, again, this is on the opposite, so I call it the western side of the intersection we were just looking at. Cedar Hill is now to the right instead of the left. The same thing, strengths hold. Cedar Hill is heading the southbound direction towards the intersection, one-way street. That is full access on Cedar Hill. Obviously it's limited. On Hartford Ave, again, that's full access, is not our only way into the site from the main roadway, so you circulate around the building in a counter clockwise direction. There is a bank building, so you can see the drive-through lane is planned north of the structure, then you loop around it, go through the drive-through lane, and then exit out either on Hartford Ave, or you can kind of move back to Cedar Hill if you want to get to the signal in that area. Pretty straightforward site plan. There's not a lot there. Pretty traditional bank buildings and some parking in front of it and drive-through lane. And that's it at a high level, similar to have a septic system and on-site drainage.
Steve, do you have a?
I do, through you, Mr. Chair. This entrance egress that you have right here is in a terrible spot. And just let me explain. From Farm Street heading east to the mobile station, it's one way until you get right around Arrowhead. And then you go up a little bit further, it gets 2 lanes. One lane is to go straight or take a right down North Main Street. The other left lane is to go straight. The problem being is everybody's cutting from Farm Street up. When that traffic backs up in the morning, they're cutting the yellow line and actually heading east in the westbound lane. So again, I just want to make from the public safety aspect of it, if you're going to have people coming out of there, there is a potential people coming up over that yellow line, heading east in the westbound lane, is going to be another potential for some serious accidents. Again, we've had 3 there in the last 3 weeks.
So when we get the peer review, the question is gonna be to the peer reviewer, is he too, we want more than one entrance to the site?
Correct.
This might be a situation where there might be some discussion.
It
based
just-
upon public safety.
Just coming out of that, like coming out and trying to either take a right, head westbound or heading east, I'm telling you that people this morning, I'm sitting in traffic waiting to come to work. And again, I take the right onto North Main Street to come to the firehouse. They're over the yellow line trying to beat the light and get up to that other lane to get straight to beat all the traffic. It is like a raceway there in the morning. If anybody lives up there, they knows what I'm talking about. It's very, very bad.
Any board comments?
No, that was a similar comment about crossing the traffic lanes.
It's getting worse.
Same.
But I don't think it's insurmountable.
Marty, any comments?
I echo the concern of the Hartford Ave East, the 2 lanes. That may need to be looked at if the road is even wide enough back from Arrowhead down towards Farm. Can it be take off the westbound side, narrow, not narrow, but repaint and continue the 2 eastbound lanes going up towards North Main Street? Can that be extended down so people aren't traveling in the westbound traffic? I see it myself every morning at 6:15 in the morning, people are jumping it. So I echo the sentiment, and that would be where the police department and accident analysis would be. What have they seen? What do they do? And is there a way to mitigate it?
As a member of the board, I would comment that, yes, I agree with the comments that have been made about outside to enter and exit the site, but once you get into the site, you get the trash bin in the back with the, looks like the queuing of the lanes. Question is, if you had somebody going after the dumpster, would that be blocking the traffic pattern inside the lanes? And you look at that one, really becomes much more comment now.
Yeah, I mean, the only comment I would say on that, based on the use, it's gonna be very, very minimal trash on this, I would think. Very operational for us to manage that. And also depending on the hours of the bank as well, it's not planned well.
Yeah, I guess I'd be concerned if you got a teller there maybe, and you've got two lanes with, you know, the bank machine there on the outside and the inside. And then, you know, the flow coming around here, you got somebody doing this. How much of this are they gonna block off up in that intersection?
That's just a bypass lane.
Yeah.
It's a bypass, so I see three, we'll dig into it, but there's three lanes there. So if you've got queuing for bank activity in two of the lanes, can the third lane get by with the trash?
The first lane closest to the building,
Yeah,
queues into two lanes.
yeah, that's what, exactly, yeah. And it's right on the corner there, so if you've got somebody doing the trash there, I guess when we get to circulation there, that would be a concern to open up again. And can you have a larger truck take care of the dumpster that's sitting there and have your bank activity go on at the same time? I mean, the outside, the traffic on the outside entering and exiting is more critical, but there's also stuff like that going on. Talk about that when we get there.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
through you, same thing, sweat path analysis on all that as well too for that thing, because again, we gotta get our apparatus in there.
We had a lot of comments from the audience on this site as well. And we'll talk about the other, but is there anything particular from the audience that they'd like to mention on this that they didn't get a chance to mention prior on this particular location? All right, then, we've got peer review out.
Yeah, we have peer review out for one site. Is the traffic report was for one site, right? Not both separated. Yeah, okay, good. So we'll have the peer review going for one site. I know, if I'm not mistaken, I think you're working on just site.
Correct. We want to get this one more round of feedback here. The public safety, see what we can get to make. Sure. From the effort on that one.
Okay.
So I don't think there's much to look at from a peer review on that side or anything. Probably.
If that's the case, you know, we have the peer review going on one side, and they're gonna need some time to compile that. And at the next meeting is August 14th, which I don't think would be a good idea. We've got a pretty stacked agenda that night.
Yeah, it sounds like this would be September anyway.
If, I think that would give ample time for the peer reviewer, and you'd even have, I think, a chance to review the comments and maybe not resubmit, but at least be able to get an idea of responses.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we should be, once we get the comments back, we should be able to work through them pretty. Now we get to go over, let's come back. With correct comments.
Sure. So that, the first meeting in September is September 11th. September for us. So we have this one.
We're running two parallel paths between some of these projects.
It went, but
Do you have any extensions on September 11th as it is?
yeah, I think we would want to extend this further, because I believe it's. I would do October. I believe right now we have it to August 31st.
That's a decision now.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the applicant saying, looking at us saying October. So,
Yeah.
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 Okay. we'll do October. Yeah, so we, that's that in right now.
November 16th or 9th?
Or, sorry, what was that?
Oh, what day? October?
We usually just do to the end of the month, so we'll just do October 31st.
We continue to a date certain, but the extension deadline.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, for the
It's not the
extension,
meeting.
yeah, the extension deadline would be October 31st, and I recommended September 11th for the continuance, but do you want to?
I'm hearing that when they were thinking, I think October,
We can
they were
do,
shaking their head.
yeah,
yes.
if you want to continue to
So-
October, you'll
So
have
it
plenty of
sounded like
time.
you guys would be more prepared for October.
Yeah,
And it just, you guys can go back and forth with peer review.
Exactly.
Between now and then.
So that'll be, the first meeting in October would be October 9th. Then we have the second meeting October 23rd, that you push it way out.
The decision deadline probably should go away. It sounds like we're gonna go way out.
Yeah, I would,
I wouldn't,
we'll usually do the month after, so I would do the end of November for the extension. Decision, extension, if that's okay, and then we'll continue to the meeting in October if that works. Does that work? Or you think October 9th or October 9th works?
what was the date of the decision deadline, November 31st?
November 30th. There is no November
November
30th.
30th. I was thinking December 30th. So, November 30th.
I mean, I just guessed.
I was just thinking, I was thinking December 30th. We're gonna go, yeah.
For what it's worth, your deadline is actually 90 days from the close of the hearing on this.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah, so it's
agree to whatever you want.
I think it's the development plan that is the extension. Yeah.
All
We
right.
just lump it into one.
Fair enough.
What I heard was we continue to October 9th with the decision deadline being the 30th. That's agreeable to that. Okay. Motion. please. Second? Second by Steve, motion made by Bill. All in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Bill,
Bill, aye. Marty?
Marty, I.
Okay, 5-0.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like I've done this before.
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah, audience, please stay involved and thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Maybe when it's not.
Yeah, we can. Come on, over, I can. We can do it. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so what do we got next? We got the approval of the minute. Does everybody have a chance to read? Does anybody else have comments first? Marty, any comments?
Nope, I'm good as of right now. I'm hearing
Yeah.
everything good.
On the public hearing, the chairman made the motion. Usually I don't make a motion. I'm not sure who made that. That was, Steve.
Steve on my name, so, yes, then we can.
The motion was seconded by Mr. O'Connell, so we'll say Stephen made the motion.
On which page?
Let me give it to you. Take that comment.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, sir.
Take care. Thank you.
So we'll just change that. And if,
Oh, this is for June.
yeah, was it the June? Oh, I got that out of
We already
the
approved
box. Yeah, I apologize. I pulled that out of the box.
Was it in the Dropbox?
I messed up and pulled it out. Let's see, hold on.
We approved those at the last meeting.
You're right. That's okay. We talked, wait a minute, we did talk about.
June
about the chairman.
26th is a long meeting. I'm off.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that those were updated.
Those were updated.
Maybe that's just an old version. of
Okay.
Dropbox.
Yeah, well, yeah, the Dropbox link would be the approved one.
All right, so the 26th meeting minutes. There were no questions on those, do we have?
They're in the packet. Yeah,
In the back.
Rob printed them.
Okay. Okay, so there were no questions on it, though. Okay, then,
Steve, sorry you lost the motion.
not the motion. We brought that up the last time, too, didn't we?
We did.
We did bring that up. All right, so can I have a motion to approve the June 26th meeting minutes?
I'll make the motion so I don't lose the last.
Steve, you just made a motion. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, and Liz seconds, all in favor, Liz?
Liz, I.
Bill,
Bill, aye? And Marty?
Marty, I.
Okay, and one outstanding topic. We were talking about, we took a vote a little while ago about training. And we were thinking about some training. Have we progressed on that, or is it still?
We have not, I
Okay.
have not followed up.
It's on the list of things.
Yeah, you can blame me for that.
No, it's on the list of things. I know you get along with
You
it.
can throw that gavel at me.
All right. So is there any other topics that aren't, I think we've got everything on the agenda covered, so is there a motion to close the meeting?
Oh,
Or do you have another?
no one, that hold on.
sorry, hold on a minute, we do have one thing.
Right.
We are going to need to do a joint meeting in August with the select board for the associate member. So they are looking at August 11th.
Do you have the price candidates?
We have a application. There's interest generated.
Which is the Monday. Anybody get conflicts in anything?
What time in the meeting? What time in the meeting?
7 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It should be the first item on the agenda.
Okay. Marty, you available on the 11th? Well-
Checking, I'm pulling up my calendar as we speak, and no, I do not have anything on August 11th.
Okay.
8,
Then
11, select board. I
just
usually
to-
attend anyway, so it doesn't matter. I'll probably be there already.
And Rob, can you go through for the board, the process there where there's a joint meeting?
Yeah, because it's a joint appointment, so the planning board and select board has the opportunity to vote on that. So have an opportunity to see the applications. Then, yeah, you have a joint meeting, we will post it as a planning board meeting, joint with the select board, because there's a forum, and you are making a decision and voting on for the item. And then typically we do it during a select board meeting. Because
That was very question. So both boards vote.
Yeah.
If there's two candidates and one board votes for one and one board votes for the other, what happens?
no, good question. No idea.
Yeah, I've never-
We'll,
I've never
we'll,
seen that
we'll
happen.
mesh that. I'm just curious. We'll get some answers prior to the meeting.
Not that I expect it to happen, I don't
Yeah.
know, you know.
I would say whoever can double check with council, but everybody has equal voting. Everybody it's a joint appointment, so my understanding is that everybody who's seated on the select board and seated here. Vote.
Do we have an odd number? Is it 5 and 5?
5 and 5.
So we could end in a stalemate?
You could,
Good,
I guess it's an even number.
which doesn't usually happen.
I know.
Yeah.
So I would ask council in an event of that happening. Room 2.
Battle Royale. It's gonna get ugly.
Yeah.
I think what happens, you put both candidates on the yellow line on Hartford Avenue.
They have to take
No,
a left.
no.
And see how they can do getting into Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah. So if it were like one select board member and all of us, you know, however you slice it, unless it's 5 and 5,
Yeah,
it should,
I think it's a simple majority vote,
Right,
so
right.
it's pretty much like you mentioned, it's kind of tally amongst both boards. So instead of needing, 3 out of 5, 6 out of 10.
All right, so it's not the majority board, it's
That's
individual.
That's my
A joint
understanding.
Okay, well then that makes it less likely to happen.
Yeah,
yeah, it would probably be a little weird if it ended up that way, but.
it's gonna be great.
Stranger
It's gonna be
things
great.
happen.
It's gonna be
We can still popcorn here.
It's gonna be great.
Okay. All right, then I will, ask for a motion to end the meeting unless there's any other questions, discussions. The motion to close the meeting, and do we have a second?
Second,
Second by Liz, all in favor? Say aye.
was I?
Come on.
Aye,
Bill, aye. And
Marty,
that's-
aye.
I heard Marty, 5-0, and, we have a tradition of someone thanking Ben. Say good night to Ben.
Good night, Don.
All right, you can the old tapes out for some
Yeah.
people.
Thank
All right, good
you.
night, Bellingham, good night, Marty.
Take it easy.
Good night,
Marty.
Bellingham from Virginia.
What we didn't do at the beginning was